Welcome to the Midnight Mind. Subscribe if you're new here, and if you enjoy this kind of content, hit the like button too, it really helps. It's midnight, and that means one thing. It's time to enter the mind of Nietzsche. Have you ever wondered why you feel the pull to break free, even when everything around you tells you to comply? You go to work, you follow the rules, you do what's expected, and yet somewhere beneath all that obedience, something in you smoulders. A silent scream, a fire in the bones. It's not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's the knowledge that something essential has been traded for comfort. This is the ancient tension between safety and freedom. And nowhere is it captured more brutally than in the myth of Prometheus, the titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. For his defiance, Zeus chained him to a rock where an eagle tears out his liver daily, only for it to regenerate and begin again. Eternal punishment, eternal pain, but also eternal resistance. To most, this is a myth of overreach, of divine punishment for hubris. But Nietzsche saw something radically different. He saw in Prometheus not a warning, but a revelation, a psychological blueprint for freedom. The suffering wasn't the tragedy, it was the proof. The fire wasn't just a tool, it was a symbol. Power, knowledge, creation, the very things that lift man above beast and place him in direct defiance of the divine. Fire, in every myth, is transformation. It's the catalyst for civilization and consciousness. Prometheus didn't just give us heat and light, he gave us the burden of awareness, and with it, the responsibility to use it, against the will of the gods, rulers, and every form of imposed order. In this gift, Nietzsche saw the essence of what it means to be human, the willingness to suffer for the sake of becoming more. But this gift comes with chains. That is the code. Every act of greatness demands a price. There's no fire without burn, no power without resistance. The chains that bound Prometheus are not just punishment, they're the law of elevation. You want to rise? Then you must be willing to bleed. You must endure the eagle every day, again and again, without bowing your head. In Prometheus Bound, the Titan himself declares, "Be sure of this, when I set my misfortune against your slavery, I would not change." He doesn't regret his suffering. He doesn't envy those who obey. In fact, he pities them. They're safe, yes, but they're not free. Prometheus teaches us that true liberty begins not when chains are removed, but when fear of pain no longer controls us. Look around you. We live in a world engineered to avoid suffering. We medicate discomfort. We distract from boredom. We outsource struggle. Everything is optimized for ease, for convenience, for speed. And in doing so, we've built a society of soft obedience. We don't fight back because we are never forced to feel. The edge has been dulled. The fire has been contained. Nietzsche called this the morality of the herd, a system designed to keep everyone comfortable, passive, and controlled. The herd doesn't question. It complies. It praises safety and punishes risk. It calls defiance dangerous, even pathological. And in doing so, it breeds mediocrity. It rewards the absence of pain, even when that absence comes at the cost of the soul. Prometheus is the antithesis of this. He embodies a deeper truth, that freedom is forged through suffering, not escape. That the greatness of the fire is proven by the fury of the gods who try to extinguish it. His agony becomes his authority. The eagle returns each day, but so does his resolve. He's not broken. He is eternal. This is the secret Nietzsche grasped. The man who suffers for a higher cause is freer than the man who is safe but silent. Most people don't obey because they agree. They obey because they're afraid. Afraid of being punished, ridiculed, rejected. Afraid of the eagle. And so they stay small. They dim their light. They hand over the fire they were born to carry. But once the fear of suffering is gone, something strange happens. The chains fall away, even if your body remains bound. You can be tormented, mocked, even destroyed, but you are no longer a slave. The Promethean spirit cannot be dominated because it accepts the pain. It welcomes it as the cost of fire. It becomes untouchable. Nietzsche didn't romanticize suffering. He didn't say it was good for its own sake. What he understood is that suffering is unavoidable, and the only question is whether it will be imposed upon you through obedience or chosen by you in the pursuit of creation. Most suffer for nothing. Prometheus suffers for everything. Think of your own life. Where have you chosen safety over truth? Where have you stayed quiet when you should have spoken? Where have you bowed your head to avoid the eagle's beak? The myth isn't distant, it's personal. We're all offered the fire, and we're all warned, take it and you will suffer. But take it anyway, because once you do, you realize something profound. The fire is worth it. The pain is proof, and the suffering is not the end, it's the beginning of freedom. The very thing that seems to break you is what remakes you. The chains don't bind you, they reveal you. This is the first law of the Prometheus Code. Freedom doesn't begin when pain ends. It begins when the fear of pain dies. When you stop flinching, when you stop apologizing, when you stop trading your fire for approval. Prometheus was chained, bleeding, and alone. But he was more free than any who knelt at Zeus's feet. And so are you, if you dare. If fire is the spark of consciousness, then pain is its price. Every act of creation demands destruction. Every transformation leaves something behind. This isn't punishment, it's nature. For Nietzsche, the universe is not governed by morality, but by force. Life doesn't reward obedience, it rewards strength. Not strength of muscle, but strength of will. Nietzsche called this principle the will to power. Not the will to survive, not the will to be good, but the will to overcome, to impose meaning onto chaos, to struggle forward in defiance of gravity, failure, and suffering. The will to power is not about domination over others, it's about domination over yourself, over the part of you that would rather submit than burn. Prometheus is the embodiment of this will. He didn't steal fire for vengeance or ego, he stole it because he could, because he saw the potential for man to rise beyond his chains. And he accepted the cost of that choice fully, without self-pity. That's what Nietzsche admired. Not the act itself, but the fortitude to suffer for it and never renounce it. This is the difference between strength and submission. Anyone can speak boldly in comfort, but to speak truth while bleeding, to remain defiant under the hammer, that is will. That is power. Prometheus doesn't beg Zeus for mercy. He doesn't curse the fire. He bears the eagle's beak because the fire was worth it. Every day it devours him, and every day he rises again. In Prometheus Bound, the Titan mocks those who fear suffering too soon. You groan too soon. You are full of fear too soon. Wait till you hear besides what is to be. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. Most people collapse at the first sign of hardship. They don't even wait for the eagle. They surrender at the threat of pain. This is what Nietzsche called decadence, the psychological rot that comes from avoiding the necessary tension of life. The modern world sells the illusion that we can avoid this tension, that we can have greatness without cost, meaning without struggle, power without pain. But the more we insulate ourselves from suffering, the weaker we become. Muscles atrophy, minds dull, souls wither. We medicate instead of meditate. We conform instead of confront, and in doing so, we trade our fire for comfort. Nietzsche saw this clearly in his time, and it has only deepened in ours. A culture that glorifies ease becomes allergic to effort. A culture that fears suffering becomes addicted to control. And when the will to power is suppressed, something darker takes its place: resentment. People no longer strive to be strong, they strive to make others weaker. They mock Prometheus because they fear they could never endure what he does. But Prometheus shows another way. His agony is not defeat, It is proof. Proof that the fire is real, that the price is real, and that he is willing to pay it. The eagle's talons don't just tear flesh, they tear away illusions. They expose the core of who you are. Will you fold, or will you burn brighter? This is the secret of transformation. Not in avoiding suffering, but in using it. Every wound becomes a window. Every failure becomes fuel. The artist who bleeds on the canvas, the writer who burns through the page, the thinker who walks alone, misunderstood and mocked. These are modern Prometheans, carriers of fire, bearers of pain, and if they endure, they are reborn. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. Not in a trivial sense, but in a deeply psychological one. To suffer and survive is to know yourself more fully. To suffer and create is to transcend. The will to power is not the denial of pain, it's the refusal to be defined by it. Think of your own trials, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the failures. You survived them. But did you use them? Or did you bury them, hoping never to feel them again? Prometheus cannot bury anything. He is bound in full view of his torment. And yet his fire still shines. That's what Nietzsche means when he says, to live is to overcome. And what does the herd do when it sees someone like that? It recoils, it mocks, it tries to pull you back down, because your endurance is a mirror they cannot bear to look into. Your strength reminds them of their weakness. Your fire makes their silence feel like surrender. So they laugh, they criticize, they warn you not to try. But if you carry the fire, you already know the truth. They're not laughing because they're wrong, they're laughing because they're afraid. They feel the heat, and it terrifies them, because deep down, they remember. They once had that fire too, and they gave it up. Prometheus never did, and that's why his suffering becomes sacred. Not in a religious sense, but in a human one. It reveals the potential of spirit, the ability to endure, to persist, to assert meaning where none is given. It's the purest form of rebellion, the refusal to collapse, the endurance of one who carries something heavier than comfort, truth. This is why Prometheus is not just a myth. He is a map, a code, a challenge to anyone who still feels that smouldering core within them. The eagle will come, the pain will return. But if you face it, if you stop fearing it, then each wound becomes proof. You are not chained. You are chosen. You are not punished. You are forged. So ask yourself, where are you still avoiding the eagle? Where are you still hoping for the fire without the burn? That's where your weakness lies. And that's where your power waits to be claimed. The will to power is not some abstract philosophy. It's a choice made in silence, under pressure, in the dark. Do you shrink or do you rise? Do you obey or do you endure? The fire is yours, but only if you accept the chains. Prometheus suffers, not once, but every single day. The eagle arrives, tears into him, and leaves him bleeding beneath the sky. And yet when the dawn comes again, he doesn't curse the fire he gave. He doesn't ask for pity. He endures. There's no reward for this choice. No one comes to thank him. But in the act of holding on, he becomes something else entirely. His pain no longer weakens him. It sharpens him. It purifies. Nietzsche saw in this myth the origin of self-created meaning. Prometheus doesn't suffer because he was weak. He suffers because he chose to give. He doesn't wait to be saved. He transforms pain into power. The gods cannot stop him. They can only try to break his body. But the spirit that gives fire cannot be chained. Nietzsche believed this was the seed of the Übermensch, the one who carves value from agony, the one who burns but does not bend. The fire Prometheus gave wasn't just survival, it was awareness, insight, the raw energy of creation. But creation is costly. Anyone can follow rules or adapt inherited truths. The fire demands more. It burns away illusions. It brings pain, because it reveals. The modern world tempts us with comfort and ease, but comfort isn't freedom. Comfort is obedience that doesn't feel like submission. Freedom begins where the illusions end, where the fire touches the soul and you choose to keep walking. In Prometheus Bound, the Titan speaks with brutal clarity. It is an easy thing for one whose foot is on the outside of calamity to give advice and to rebuke the sufferer. This is not bitterness, it's exposure. Those who never carried fire will always try to explain away the agony of those who have. Prometheus doesn't ask to be understood. He asks to endure. His pain becomes a kind of language, one only spoken by those who've bled. The herd cannot understand Prometheus. They survive by avoiding suffering. They stay silent, comply, look away. Prometheus doesn't look away. He stares into the thing everyone else flees from, and remains. His presence becomes unbearable to them, not because he threatens their safety, but because he threatens their comfort. He reminds them of the price they never paid, the pain they never faced, and the truth they were once brave enough to hear before they chose silence instead. Nietzsche described slave morality as the reversal of strength into guilt. Anything powerful is condemned, anything obedient is praised. The strong are seen as dangerous, the silent called wise. Prometheus destroys this framework simply by existing. He doesn't ask for validation, he doesn't seek approval. His suffering has meaning because he chose it. He didn't inherit his fire, he stole it. And that act echoes louder than any law. It says, you don't need permission to begin. People like Prometheus are punished not for what they do, but for what they represent. Their presence disturbs those who've settled into safety. When someone suffers visibly and refuses to apologize, it exposes the emptiness of those who surrendered quietly. That's why Prometheus must be chained. Not because he's evil, but because he reminds everyone else of the moment they gave up. His suffering is too honest, his silence too steady, and his defiance is too pure. There's no rescue coming. Prometheus knows this. That is why his strength matters. He doesn't wait to be freed. He acts as though he's already free. This is the secret hidden in suffering. If you endure it willingly, no one can take anything from you. The fire becomes your own. The pain becomes your proof. And the world cannot break someone who doesn't fear pain. Prometheus is not begging. He's declaring. He's already sovereign. Ask yourself, what have you traded for comfort? What fire have you refused to carry because it burned too close to your fear? What silence have you chosen so you would not stand alone? These moments shape the architecture of your life, but they cost more than you think. Every quiet surrender builds another link in the chain, and over time you forget the weight was ever added. That's how you wake up bound. Prometheus chose to suffer for something real, and in doing so, his torment becomes transformation. He holds the fire not because it's easy, but because it matters. He becomes the example that cannot be erased. Even chained, he inspires. Even torn open, he endures. Each act of defiance becomes a map for others. That's why he still matters. That's why they still fear him. He proves that you can hurt and still hold your fire. The world offers exits, distraction, conformity, noise. But Prometheus offers clarity. His path is not escape, it's confrontation. You will suffer, you will be torn. But in that tearing, you find out what cannot be destroyed. The gods fear that. The herd avoids it. But if you follow it, you become something else entirely. You stop asking to be understood. You begin speaking from the wound. And that voice is fire. Let yourself burn. Let the fire rise and touch the places you've kept hidden. Speak when it costs you. Endure when it isolates you. Stand even when the ground gives way. The scars you carry aren't shameful. They are sacred. They're the evidence that you passed through the pain and did not disappear. They are proof that you didn't flinch. And that, above all else, is the beginning of freedom. Freedom lives inside defiance. Not the loud kind, but the enduring kind. The stillness that holds when everything breaks. Prometheus doesn't beg, he doesn't kneel, he doesn't run, and every time the eagle returns, so does he. Torn, bleeding, and unbroken. That is the meaning of fire. That is the cost of truth. And that is the code you were meant to carry. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. I really would appreciate it. And if you have any thoughts on today's episode, I'd love to hear them. Leave me a message down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.